Welcome to another edition of the Batchelor News Report. I am L.A. Batchelor. Thank you for joining us wherever you are watching. We certainly appreciate you checking in. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page, Pad Nation 1, Facebook at Pad Nation 1, L.A. Batchelor at Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and any other place you could find a local download of a podcast. Want to bring in my guest. Always good to have this young man on. Of course, he is the host and founder of Touring the AFC South. He is a sports writer covering lots of different pro and college teams. He is Mike Patton. And Mike, what's shaking, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. Just trying to dodge these raindrops here.
Oh, you guys getting rain. I got you. I want to start with the NBA. And just again, you're in Tennessee, so I want to make sure that we get sort of an update, if you will, with the Grizzlies. Obviously, the season's not over, Mike. Obviously, they have to make a decision on Ja Morant. Obviously, they have to build on that roster. Still pretty young, but they have to get better. And a very getting better, if you will, Western Conference. So a lot of talk about the face of the league and with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Ant-Man, different people. What do you expect Memphis to do in this offseason? We know what the draft is now in terms of the lottery now, so the draft of picks coming up. What do you expect them to do? What's their roster like in terms of if they want to get draft picks? Can they move guys? You have quality guys that can be moved to improve this roster. And again, the big question is what happens to Ja?
Well, I will tell you in regards to Ja, the big thing there is, you know, how does he sync with the new coach? Do they want to move forward with Ja? And I've heard rumors potentially that he could be out of there this summer. If he is out of there, then I expect some more dominoes to fall, like maybe a Desmond Bain as well, perhaps. We'll see what happens, but as far as John Morant, it's not for certain he's going to be back in Memphis next year, and that could be just the first of many moves that happen.
That will be so. Okay, assuming he's not, where do they go? What do they do? Are they you saying are you saying they're going to trade him to get picks? Where do they go if he's not on the roster?
Well, they go with a different point guard, obviously, but I know I'm being funny, but as far as the team, I would say they probably go in a little bit different direction, kind of focus it more on Triple J being the focal point of the team. I don't think that's a great move to do anyway. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't like him to be the focal point because he can't stay out of foul trouble still to this day. So that's where I'm like, and I'm like, if you trade him, like for example, say if they were traded to Chicago, who would they get back that would have a huge impact on their team? And the impact that John Morant has. I don't think anybody on that roster would. So that's where I'm like, I don't know if trading him this summer is the right move, but I'm pretty sure they're looking at it.
What about playing him? I know he's small, but what about playing him off the ball? Why not bring in a point guard and let him play the two? He'll be a small two, but I mean, look, hell, Jalen Brunson is 6 feet, if that, and look what he's doing. Why not play him off? He seems like he's better off the ball rather than bringing it up.
You'd have to have a tall one to go with that. And Desmond Bain ain't it. He's actually a guy that's 6'3" with short arms or 6'4" with short arms. So that wouldn't work. And then also Ja has to be able to shoot the ball better. The thing with Jalen Brunson, the difference between him and Ja may be a better athlete, but Brunson can shoot the ball better. So
Right.
that's the big thing. If Brunson, if Morant was off the ball, I mean, he'd be more Russell Westbrook-ish if he
Well,
was off the ball
but
more.
in fairness, Brunson is old school. He's getting away with that dip in the, that shoulder in the chest move before he
Hmm.
shoots it. But I digress. But I understand your point. He does. Ja is more of a drive to the basket, Derrick Rose, real hard type
Hmm.
finish type guy. He's not the jump shooter. So to your point, he's got to get better. So if they do trade him this offseason, do you what do you expect to get in return for him? What's his value out there, if you will?
I would say you at least got to get one starter out of that trade, and maybe a pick, maybe a couple picks, maybe. But I would say at worst you need to get at least a starter that can come in and play immediately for you. You're probably going to get maybe a guy that's a project to go along with that, that maybe has talent but just hasn't quite reached it wherever he is. That might be another thing. So it's just going to be interesting just to see. But I would say more than likely a comparable starter is the first place you stop at.
Talking with Mike Patton, of course, here on the Batchelor News Report. Don't forget to subscribe to our page, especially on YouTube. Just click the button there to subscribe to Pat Nation One. Click the like button on Pat Nation One on Facebook. Mike, let's look at the this Final Four, and it's really interesting because um, all the Western and the Eastern Conference Finals, really the focal point of of each team really starts with the point guard. And it's so funny when you look at all four point guards, they all could be, I know Ant said he didn't want to be, but they all could be the face of the NBA. If you can make a case for it, when you look at what Brunson's done, you missed the clutch, and Halliburton, how he's said, you know what? Oh, overrated. I'll show you overrated, and the way they're playing, and then of course the West. I mean, I don't think SAS and Ant Man gonna guard each other because that'll be foul city trying to guard each other. Then they foul each other out, so they won't be on each other. But both of those guys can take over games. Who needs to step up out of those four guys to be, the guy who's going to get this team to the finals, and who you have more confidence in out of the four?
Well, to get his team to the finals, that would be Halliburton to me. I know he has a team full of players on his team, but he has a tendency to disappear at times. He'll play great and then he'll just disappear. So that would be one person, but another person that I'm gonna say, and of course, people will be like, "Why are you saying him?" SGA. SGA to me is the straw that stirs the drink. When he does not show up to play and when he's not scoring, you know, that team can be very inefficient, as we saw in the second half of Game 6 versus the Denver Nuggets. And also, he can be the one to get people involved. He's aggressive and he gets people involved. That offense seems to flow better as it did in the demolishing of the Denver Nuggets on this past Sunday.
Who's the biggest guy who really needs to be on the court to make a difference in the series? Let's start with the Western Conference. I think
Mhm.
it's Gobert. He's done a good job this year of playing better in space and protecting the rim and not being a big liability like he was last year. He's played better. So I look at a guy like him going up against Hardenstein and Chet,
Chet Holmgren.
right, Holmgren. That if he can keep them off the boards and change people's shots at the rim, if guys get past that point of attack, and he's the last line of defense, Minnesota wins. If he can't stay on the court, and this is my opinion, if he can't stay on the court, then they lose. Your thoughts on the series?
Honestly, it's going to be interesting because he's going to be in a lot more motion in this series because if you've seen Hartenstein and Chet can step outside, bring you outside, shoot the three. Also, Hartenstein actually is a guy that's in constant motion within about the
He
15
throws
foot
that
range.
floater up, and he throws that
Yeah.
floater up, and it's either hit or miss with him. He either misses 7 in a row, or he will make 5 of those floaters in a row.
He's been pretty consistent with it this year, so I'll give him his credit this year. He looks a little bit more on point with it, but yeah, definitely the last year he's kind of hit or miss more, I would say. But I would say that it's going to be interesting for Gobert just because he's going to have to, he did that last year. He's got out there more on the perimeter, but this is just a little bit different scenario because Hartenstein's in constant motion and Chet definitely can do some things with the basketball as well. So. It'll be interesting there, but I've got a different guy that's going to be a most important guy if he's on the court. That's Alex Caruso. He makes a huge difference. He doesn't even have to
He's
score.
been
He
kind
just
of
plays
quiet. He's
defense.
been kind of quiet for them. He struggled against the Lakers and against Golden State, in my opinion.
He, he actually, I mean, watching him against Denver, he was a difference maker on the court. He messed around and he didn't score a ton of points, but he was a plus 40 in the game seven.
Mm.
And he's been a play. He was a plus pretty much the entire series. And you knew when he was on the court, even if he didn't score, played great defense, got a steal, made an assist, good rotation defensively, something. You knew he was going to be on the court, and you knew his effect on the court. So I would say Alex Caruso is a guy that I'm definitely going to be watching in this series.
He's been sort of a bully too, playing a lot of defense and kind
Hmm.
of bullying some guys and getting it mixed up with some guys with Denver. So
Hmm.
I think that helped him. I think what about the key? The fact is, if Chet Holmgren, I could see Coach Finch just saying, okay, we're going to keep Holmgren outside shooting from the perimeter. You know, he can shoot the three-pointer. So that
Hmm.
makes Gobert have to go out and guard him if that's the case. What about that? And if Gobert goes to the bench, who plays the 5 and how effective do they be?
Well, I would say it's definitely going to be interesting just to watch, Chet and how he, plans to attack Rudy Gobert. Because the thing is, you can't get out of your game plan trying to attack Rudy Gobert. I think a lot of teams get out of their game plan trying to go at Rudy, and it throws their whole offense off. If they're able to continue to flow with their offense and Chet, take advantage of those opportunities, they'll be fine. But of course, if Rudy Gobert gets in foul trouble or gets played off the court, which I would say in the past he might get played off the court, but I really can't say that anymore because he's kind of improved defensively in that aspect of playing on the perimeter. But if he does get played off the court, Nas Reed is a guy that can step right in there. The former six man of the year, shoot the three, take people off the dribble. He might not be able to jump over a phone booth when he shoots his jump shot, but he definitely makes an impact on both ends of the court.
Another guy too, by the way, I think you agree. Julius Randle's been playing really good. I think he's been averaging about 24, about 9 rebounds or so. He
Mhm.
has to continue to play well, and not just because of this series. And I was thinking, oh, Mike, that trade with him and Cat,
Mhm.
Cat's been kind of up and down, and we'll talk about the East in a minute, but it's almost like Randall's like, I want to prove to the Knicks and to the fact that they traded me for Cat that I'm going to show that, okay, it might be Ant-Man's team, but I'm going to show that they made a mistake and traded me in the first place.
Well, the funny part is both of these guys were Kentucky Wildcats at one point in time. Didn't play together, but they
Yeah.
were both Kentucky Wildcats. So I know that John Calipari is smiling from ear to ear seeing his guys playing this far in the playoffs, especially SGA as well. But I would say, yeah, Julius Randle, he talked about it that when he missed some time with the injury, he got a chance to step back and watch this team and see the things he needed to do and see how he needed to fit in. He seems to be playing with a little bit more unbridled joy on the court. I've never seen him hit a layup, get fouled, and then actually do this to the crowd and
Right.
then smiling. I'm like, okay, what Julius Randle is this? But I would say, he seems to have his joy for the game back, playing with Ant-Man and kind of knowing his position as being the second fiddle and not being mad about it. So definitely, I would say that, I mean, this is the best version of Julius Randle that the Timberwolves, I mean, could have imagined showing up for them. And he's actually, I know that, Karl Anthony Towns has been more physical with the Knicks over the season. He's been famously called Bodega Cat. But I would say that Julius Randle is this way all the time. He doesn't have to push himself to become physical. He just is physical. Cat, I would say, kind of has to push himself to be more physical when it comes to playing for the New York Knicks.
And Cat's from the area, so he knows the pressure.
Yeah.
I think the bottom line, they both have one thing in common. Stop shooting jump shots. Get to the basket. That was Randall's problem in New York. I think he learned now to post and go hard at the basket. Cat, I always said, a 7-footer shooting 3-pointers. I just don't feel, I don't like it. Luca and all these, Joker does it and stuff. But with Cat, post, get to the rim. I think that's
I,
the bottom line for both of them.
I would say this. I would say, just completely scrap the three. That's part of their games. But I would say shooting them within the flow of the game, yes, I'm cool with that. That doesn't bother me at all. If they shoot them within the flow of the game, which they've been doing a little bit better about this season, I'm cool with that. But if are doing them and it's just out the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, okay, it's Randall, especially Julius Randall, because Julius Randall never really was a 3-point shooter for most of his career to start until he got to like New York and started developing it more. But Cat's been that guy to do that, and he, like the fast break, pull up threes. I'm used to seeing him do that because I know he can do it. But he's done a better job, I'd say, this year of kind of managing when to take those and when not to take those, and I can live with that as a coach. I could live with that instead of you just sitting there hanging at 3-point line the entire game.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, if you're gonna get the ball at the top of the key, you're gonna try to cross somebody and shoot a three. That's not the flow of the game. That's you
Mhm.
trying to shoot a 3-pointer. And Julius a little shorter, 6'9" or whatever, and Cat it's 7 feet. Um, it's funny, just as a side thought. Julius Randle had issues with weight and taking and shot selection and everything. He sort of reminds me of, or the guy who reminds me of him is Zion Williamson. If he would get in the weight room and lift some weights and stop lifting Twinkies, he would be a great player. He can't stay on the court, and I don't want to. You can comment on that, but
Uh-huh.
he just is not committed, and the problem is that New Orleans, they want him. They don't want to get rid
hmm
of him. They want to keep
hmm
him, but he is not healthy. He won't get in the gym. He needs to train, lose that weight, and he will be a dominant player in the NBA.
Well, actually, I would say this last offseason, he actually did work out and actually was in pretty good shape to start the season or good shape to start the season. The biggest thing with him is when you have this many injuries, it's two things you need to check out: your weight and make sure that your body can handle that type of weight and playing with it. And secondly, you need to check out your elasticity in your muscles because if you're getting this many, muscle strains and things like that, it means you probably need to take more time stretching, not
Right.
necessarily lifting weights, but just stretching and get stretched out and things like that because ultimately those two things are going to cost you games.
So who do you have in the Western Conference? Minnesota or okay? Both play good defense. Both have
Uh-huh.
guys who want to have something to prove. Who do you have?
Honestly, I've been saying OKC is coming out of the West since the playoffs started. It is no time to deviate from that. I'm going OKC to the NBA Finals.
I thought if Minnesota beat Golden State, because I thought Golden State, if Steph didn't get hurt, I thought Golden State could make it to the Western Conference Finals, and who knows? But I thought if they beat Golden State, that Minnesota would get back and beat OKC and get to the NBA Finals. All right, the Eastern Conference. We'll talk with Mike Patton here on the Batchelor News Report. Again, two great point guards with something to prove for their franchises. Knicks haven't
hmm
been to the conference finals since '99. Of course, the Pacers were there. Knicks haven't won a title since '73. Pacers haven't won a title. Period. Got one time they got there with Reggie Miller, and of course Shaq and them took them out in the NBA Finals. So tell us what you think in terms of the matchup, the key matchups in this series.
Well, the biggest thing looking at it is the depth of the Indiana Pacers. I mean, they can go as many as they could go potentially like 9 to maybe 10 deep if they wanted to. So that's going to be a huge thing to watch versus the stalwarts of the New York Knicks, because of course we know the Knicks. They're not going too deep in that bench. They may be going with the big man off the bench, and also going with McBride. Those two guys, they're going to be involved off the bench. But other than that, you might get a little bit of Precious Achua, but that be maybe about it. So that'll be one thing to watch. Of course, Brunson is always going to be something to watch. I expect Naismith to maybe get some time on him perhaps, and not Halliburton the entire time. I think Bridges is going to be a key matchup for on Halliburton. I think that matchup that's the matchup I would do if I was New York. I would put Bridges on Halliburton because it's like size, and Bridges is definitely a very very good defender. Or they may put OG on him, but I would think OG would be settled for Siakam, a little former Toronto Raptors teammates going against each other, perhaps. So those are two matchups I'm looking at. And then also, of course, you got Cat and Miles Turner, which basically both of these guys are similar in the styles that they play. So it'll be interesting just to watch. I mean, I think Miles Turner at times does hang out the perimeter just a smidgen too much. Which I wouldn't. Normally I would say that Cat be the guy that would stay at the perimeter too much, but you know, Miles Turner has been good this playoffs. It's going to be interesting just to see how Cat matches up with him. If Cat gets him in the post, I think Cat can definitely have his way with him at times. Not all the time, but just sometimes. But I think this is a series tailor made for Karl Anthony Towns to show up and show out for the New York Knicks.
Yeah, and going back to last year, a lot have been said of this year about this Pacers team. They met the Knicks last year. The Knicks took them to 7. The Knicks, Brunson was hurt. OG was hurt, and they won, eventually losing to Boston. Of course, Boston goes on to win the series. This year, again, people um, putting an asterisk by the Pacers this year. Milwaukee hurt. Then they go on and they play a Cleveland team that lost 3 players one game. And now here they come. They get the Knicks again. Do you think the Pacers have been lucky last year and this year, and in terms of getting back to the Eastern Conference Finals?
Well, a little bit of luck always plays into everything. I mean, it just is what it is. You can only play the people that are in front of you, and you have to have a little bit of luck along the way. The Pacers are a talented team. I don't want to take that away from them by saying the injuries. The injuries are a part of the game, though. So it is what it is in terms of that aspect. Of course, people could easily say that maybe Jason Tatum's injury, even though I don't think Jason Tatum's injury cost the Boston Celtics that series. In my opinion, I think just the Knicks just in crunch time played better, and then overall just made more plays to win. But the Pacers are a very very good team, and definitely the ball bounced their way a good few times. However, in terms of injuries, things like that. However, I got to give them credit. I mean, down 8 points with like 30 some seconds left against the Milwaukee Bucks, and then come back and win the game. Coming back from taking a serious punch from the Cleveland Cavaliers, being down almost 20, coming back and win the game. I mean, just a lot of those different situations that it's not easy to come back from. Yet they did it time and time again. So I have to give them credit for that. I know the injuries are there, but they're a part of the game, and they still have to go out and win those games regardless.
Right, and the way they came back, like you said, they got to come back. It's a contrast in styles because the Pacers want to run and they're deep. Knicks clearly don't want to because they don't play as many, if for nothing else, for other
Hmm.
reason. But when you look at this series, uh, who do you think is going to win, and who has the most pressure in this series to try to get his team to the finals?
Well, I'd be lying if I told you that the Pacers have more pressure, but they don't. The Knicks have ultimately the most pressure because all of New York City is hoping for them to be in the
I
finals,
mean,
and I'm pretty sure. I'm
Mike,
pretty sure go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I didn't mean to cut you off, but they are going crazy. I talked to my sister, and it's
Hmm.
resonating in Connecticut. They going the New York Knicks fans are just, I mean, they going crazy. They're not even. They're only in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I get it, it's been a while,
Hmm.
but wow, act like you've been there. I mean, the fact that you got to still beat the Pacers to get to the promised land. Then you got to win, and they ready
Well,
to tear down goalposts and everything in New York.
fan is short for fanatical, or fanatic, I should say. So, and fanatical as well. So, I can't blame them for that. Hey, it is what it is. They're going to be who they're going to be, and but they do have the most pressure, though, to me. The New York Knicks do, and Brunson definitely has a lot of pressure on him. But this is not unusual for him anyway, because he has a lot of pressure to actually shoulder the offensive load a lot anyway. So to me, the Knicks have the most pressure. I would say that, did you want my prediction for the series as well?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will say I do want the Knicks win, and I will throw in campaign may make an appearance as well. I didn't mention his name. I failed to mention his name earlier. Because of course, Memphis, Tennessee would not allow me not to not Memphis his name. Mention his name. He's from Memphis, Tennessee, by the
Mm.
way. So I can see the Knicks winning this game or this series, I should say, but I'm gonna go with the Pacers. I think the Pacers face the Oklahoma City Thunder for the NBA championship starting on June 6th.
The connection with both these finals is that Indiana and Milwaukee, I mean Indiana and Minnesota are back where they were last year.
Hmm.
And it's something to be said not to break up a team, especially Indiana. We've seen that. They had a chance because they got
Hmm.
there, and you could have traded some guys. They brought that group back, and here they are back in that spot. So to your point, they got a shot because they've been there, so they should be poised to be able to handle it. The only thing with the Knicks is that Brunson and Josh Hart, by the way, are
Hmm.
winners. Titles with
Hmm.
Villanova. They used to pressure time. Brunson,
Bridges too. Bridges
yeah,
too.
yeah, and so they've been in this position before, and their teammate Di Francisco be if they get past there and they'll join them if in the finals, it'll be a whole
Hmm.
Villanova reunion or whatever. But I digress. One other thing, because you mentioned Giannis,
Hmm.
um, I asked Nick where he thought he was going. A lot of people saying San Antonio because they got the picks, and
Hmm.
certainly Dallas is ecstatic because they got the first pick, and they I guess is going with Cooper Flag. But what do you think if Giannis is even moved? Because he may not even be moved, but if he
Hmm.
is, where do you think he goes, and what do you think is the best fit for him?
Honestly, I would not. I don't know if I like the fit in San Antonio. That's a lot of guys that I don't know. I don't know if I like that fit there with him, De'Aaron Fox, and Wemby. Kind of iffy on that, but I could see that happening. I could also see the Houston thing happening. But I'm going to think way outside the box, and it's going to be one of the four teams that are playing right now that could potentially be having Giannis on their team next year. And I'm
Wow.
going to throw that team out. And I know this is probably a rarity if this ever happens, but they have the picks, they have the talent to make it happen. And that would be the Oklahoma City
Okay,
Thunder.
I knew you were
Shai
going to
Gill,
say that.
SGA,
Yeah,
Giannis, and maybe one of the big guys, which I'm pretty
Jalen
sure they
Williams.
can. No, they can keep. No, they can let him go and put Giannis at the three. If there's somehow some way they can keep the talent of either Chet or Jalen Williams, one of those two guys there, then you got some magic that can happen there. And then, what if they were able to keep Hartstein, Chet, and SGA all together, and then maybe get rid of Jalen Williams or one of the other. Think of how amazing that team would be. Good Lord.
And Giannis playing the three. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That,
Oh, I got another one for you. I got another one for you. And I know this one is kind of way out of left field, and I don't expect it to happen, but somebody mentioned it, and I thought about it, and I was like, man, that would be a that would be a checkmate move for the whole NBA if this happened. Joker to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now that would be insane. Now I would say they have all the picks that you would want in Oklahoma City. Plus you throw a Chet or somebody else, whoever you want to throw at it. You put those two together, SGA and Joker, and boy oh boy, two former MVPs playing on the same team. That would be nasty work. But I would say I don't think Oklahoma City would do that just because they don't seem like the type of people that would try to max their cap out like that. They're just not that team to do that, which, I will say, pay attention in the next couple of years because somebody gonna be moving up out of there. Might be Jalen Williams moving up out of
well, they we're used to them having guys that are
there.
homegrown. They brought
Hmm.
the 3-0 when they went from Seattle to OKC with Durant and
Hmm.
Russell and James Harden. So I'm with you. I don't think they like to kind of keep it within the house type draft picks and those type of
Hmm.
guys. They got a really good base. But Houston, to me, you're right. They have a ton of draft picks too, by the way, and a lot of talent that they can send over to Denver for a Joker or send over to Milwaukee for a Giannis.
I'll say this. I don't think Houston should do it. I think Houston should add to the team, but I don't think they should get rid of a couple different guys there. There's a couple guys that you don't get rid of. You don't get rid of the Thompson twin. You don't get rid of him. He is going to be a star. You don't get rid of him. You don't get rid of
Well,
Van
Green
Lee.
needs to go because he showed he
I
was
would
picked
I would
up his
say
own.
Green Green will get there, but I don't think he'll get there in Houston. I don't think he's
Right,
going to be the guy.
right.
I think eventually he'll find his way, but just that series shows him a lot. Sengun's got to stay. But they do have other pieces and talents. You got Jabari Smith. You got all those different guys that can actually move. But I would say honestly, if I were them, I would try to stay pat with what I have and try to move as less as possible to get that scoring punch you need. To be honest,
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason. Philly's got the fourth pick, my Sixers,
go get Ace, man. Go get Ace Bailey, man. Go
I
ahead and do it.
yeah, I like that pick, and um, but it's still, I mean, Embiid, you don't know what you're going to get with this guy. You
No,
don't
no,
know.
hold on, time out. His name is not Embiid anymore. I heard a nickname given to him by the co-host of the Dominic Foxworth show, Charlie Kravitz, and it fits perfectly for Embiid. It is called PTO. That is his nickname, is PTO.
What is that?
Oh, paid time off, PTO. That's his nickname. That is Embiid's nickname.
I'll keep it simple. Peanut butter sandwich. When you eat peanut butter, sometimes people get choked in the throat. That's Joel Embiid. Peanut butter sandwich.
He got to be on the court to do that, though. So that's why I was saying PTO.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he got a lot of look. Listen. He's been him and the GM have been stealing from the 76ers for a long time now.
Mhm.
So we'll see. I'm a suffering Sixer fan, and doesn't seem like it's gonna get any better. We're cursed, I guess. I don't know, but and I digress. I want to switch to a quick other basketball story. Talk about Mike Patton here on the Batchelor News Report, and that's the WNBA with Caitlin
Mhm.
Clark and Angel Reese. And the fact is that
Oh boy.
I only brought this up because of one thing. Obviously you saw the foul
Hmm.
that they said was flagrant.
Hmm.
There's no ill will. Both women are saying the same thing. No, it was a basketball move. No ill will. RG3, who to me is
Oh boy,
a
that guy.
very hypocrite. He he should,
He plays the card when he wants to play it.
certain
That's, I'll
things
put it
he
that
shouldn't
way.
be certain things he shouldn't be talking about. And
Hmm.
and Ryan Clark, who I've been critical of lately because he just is killing my Steelers, and deservedly so, but he's a little bit too negative lately. But anyway, RG3 says that Reese needs to admit that she hates Caitlin Clark. Not basketball hate, real hate. Ryan Clark steps in and says, how could you say that about her? You don't know her. Furthermore, RG3, you don't know what black women go through because you married a white woman.
No, hold on. Let me say this. Well, no, first of all, let me add a little context. He did say that you don't know because in your home you don't have these conversations
Right.
with black women,
With black
which
women.
is true, which is a true statement.
It's a true statement. It's a true
Mhm.
statement. So is Ryan Clark out of line in the sense that if it's two women going at it, and 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 RG3 is trying to say, and by the way, he said Ryan Clark is a coward and all this other stuff. Anyway, but
He doesn't want to see Brian Howard in these streets. I mean, Ryan Clark in these streets. I'll tell you
nah,
that.
Ryan ain't playing that. Um,
Nah.
but RG3 is basically saying it doesn't matter that she's black. She's a woman, and all I was saying is it's a real hate there. So, is he wrong to say it? Is Ryan Clark wrong to bring that out? I know what them Karens ain't gonna be watching the Pivot, the show, anytime
Well,
soon. But
I definitely was going to talk about this tonight, but I'll bring it here on this show. Here's the thing that I got with this one. RG3 talking out of place. Talking totally out of place, in my opinion. He doesn't know Angel Reese. He doesn't know Caitlin Clark. He's actually probably never seen them play with each other on the same team, which in the Olympics they probably will be doing. And also in the All-Star game when they actually were teammates and had fun playing with each other. So what he's saying is just something to me to get clicks.
right,
That's essentially what I gather from RG3 and saying that. And then plus, Angel is a competitor. They both are competitors. They're not supposed to be buddy buddy in the game. That's just not going to happen. And to me, what Brian Clark said, he actually complimented his wife and said that she is much more than her skin color.
right,
That essentially is what kind of RG3 touts his wife as. And then also the part that RG3 is skipping over is that he had his wife in the background co-signing everything he said. I think your wife needs to be out of that picture if you're going to talk about that and not co-signing everything you're saying in the background. To be honest, that was in poor taste when he did that. So if he really wants to talk about those things, he was in poor taste when he took that stance and then had his wife back there co-signing everything he said, like he needed to pump up cheerleader in the background. Ryan Clark, I salute you, sir, for telling it how it TI is. Because RG3 needed to hear that. He needed to hear that loud and clear. And RG3 can be in his feelings all he wants. And he talk about, oh, he took it somewhere where it shouldn't have gone, talking about my wife. He actually did not talk about your wife. He did not down your wife. He said she is a nice person from all accounts when he's met her,
right,
and she is more than what. But he's trying to spin it to be hurt feelings guy, as opposed to taking his medicine as to what happened. That y'all
right,
can definitely both have different opinions, but you took it out of place not knowing what you were talking about.
right. And to your point, he's getting clicks because it's a non-story. For him to
Hmm.
say she needs to admit that she hates her, even if she does, so for what? What does that have to do with anything? Right? Number
Hmm.
one. Number two, I get so sick and tired of, and I'll get hate mail or whatever. I don't give a damn. I get so sick and tired of these brothers that talk about these sisters and they dating white women. What are you talking about? You have no clue. Charles Barkley. You have no clue, RG3. You have no clue. If you dating the Europeans, then what are you talking about? You can't be in her head, in Reese's head. And you certainly don't know what she goes through. This woman won a title as a junior. Her whole senior year, she said she cried and had a miserable year because she got so much hate, so much racist hate. And I'm sure got it now after she got the flagrant foul, by the way. She was fouled.
Hmm.
She didn't foul
Hmm.
Caitlin Clark. She was fouled. But I get so sick and tired of these brothers that talk this crap and you don't know what it is. You ain't dealing with no sister. So how are you going to speak for a sister in her head? That's the point I got
Hmm.
pissed off by. That's the bigger point for me, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is RG3. He's had some points in the past where I'd be like, okay, he's got a point, but this one he has totally 0 points on. Yeah, I'm just like, come on, RG3. Really? We just gonna go for the low hanging fruit and you just gonna subscribe to this? Come on now. To me, leave it alone. To me, this is what I've done in a lot of these situations, which I know a lot of people would probably say, hey, you need to step up and say more and things like that. But I pay attention to the people that are and what opinions they're voicing. I let black women let voices be the loudest. I want their voices to be the loudest on
Right.
these situations,
Yeah.
not me,
Yeah.
because I am not a black woman. So therefore I can't identify with all the things that are going on with a black woman. I
But
can
you in a
try,
house,
but
but
I
you in a
can't.
house with a black woman. And that's the
Right,
difference. He's not,
right,
you
right.
know?
Hmm. Yeah, well, I understand. It's just but if he was actually being smart about that, he would actually have a conversation with a black woman actually about it. But he's not going to do that.
No.
He's not going to do that because he's looking for clicks.
And he looking to get back in the league, and he blew it himself, coming in all arrogant and thinking he did, you know what, and
Mhm.
all of that. And he got the
And
backlash.
I would say this though too. Can I say one other thing?
Yeah,
Now,
sure.
I will say that did Ryan Clark have to go down to the petty levels and bring out all the things that he didn't like about him with ESPN? No, he really didn't have to bring that out, but
No,
he did. He did though. He did though. I mean, I wasn't mad about it, but did he really have to do that? No, he didn't. I'm the people. Some people are like, man, he was wrong to say all that. I'm like, look, when your boy was doing the most and doing the dance out there. I mean, what did you expect was going to happen? Do you think Ryan Clark is going to back down? Ryan Clark is a star at ESPN. He's not going anywhere unless he wants to go somewhere.
right,
So, with that being said, he's got the platform to say everything, and he says it in a great and intelligent way that people cannot stand. That is the biggest reason I think people don't like Ryan Clark, or well, people that don't look like me and you, I would say,
right.
don't like Ryan Clark because he says things and he says them in an intelligent way, and people are like, well, he shouldn't say that. I'm like, well, what did he say wrong? And they can't explain it to you because they don't understand what he said to begin with.
Yeah, I just think that RG3 is not only looking for clicks, but he still wants to be on somebody's roster. So
Oh,
he
he'll be at Fox Sports next year, so we'll hear from him at Fox Sports. That's where he'll be. But it wouldn't surprise me if he dabbled over in some other things at Fox still.
Yeah. Before you go, I just want to touch on the Titans. And
Hmm.
is there anything behind the fact that Will Levin and Cam Ward are taking equal snaps? Are they going to try to start Cam on the bench, or Cam is definitely going to be the starter um, come week one?
Well, they're trying to present a level of competition at camp. That's why they're splitting reps. However, do I think Will Levis takes another start with the Tennessee Titans? I would say I don't think he does. I think he is going to be a backup or in the backup competition, and that Cam Ward will be the starter. I think plenty of Titans fans would probably lose their mind if they saw Will Levis taking another snap as a starter in the regular season for the Tennessee Titans, and unless injury happens, something like that nature. But other than that, still, and then in that case, people still would probably still have a moment. But I would say that I think Cam eventually will be named the starter. I just think they're kind of slow playing it and trying to create the illusion of competition at that position when I don't think there is.
What do you think is going to happen with the tush push? It's still they looking to make a decision on it. I don't see. I'm I'm like this. I don't care. I'm one of those guys. If a team
Hmm.
beats you 56 to nothing and you're upset about it, stop them.
Hmm.
So
Right.
if you're doing this push, stop them.
Hmm.
I mean, if they're successful at it and you don't want them to do it, stop them
Hmm.
on fourth and inches. Stop them on fourth
Yep.
and one. That's my deal. So, what's your thoughts on that? And what do you think is going to happen?
Well, honestly, I think eventually they're going to find a way to ban it from the game, which I think is pretty terrible. To me, I mean, honestly, if you figure out a way to stop it, you figured out a way to stop it when they all of a sudden went to three wides. They didn't ban that. When they went to spread offenses, you didn't ban that when things couldn't stop it at first. So defenses will find a way to stop it. Now, I know there are a lot of things that go against defensive players in terms of the rules. However, it is what we have to play with. And to me, with Green Bay saying this, I don't know if you're allowed to cuss on your air. Are you allowed to cuss on your air? And just,
I am.
I'm okay. To me, with Green Bay saying this, they're basically admitting that they were too light in the ass to stop the Philadelphia Eagles. That's
Yeah.
what I gather from it.
Yeah, and think about, but I guess the flip side of it, the advocate side of it, is that defense is saying, well, we can't, you know, I remember Troy Polamalu timing his jump. He jump over the line, and
Hmm.
defenses can't do that. They certainly can't do that on extra points where they can lean on somebody and jump. So what do you say to defenses when they say, well, we can't get away with that kind of stuff? Why would they be able to do it?
I would say stop all the belly aching. Tell your defensive lineman to get lower, then maybe you'll stop it. Because that basically is what it comes down to. The offensive linemen for the Eagles are getting
Getting low.
lower
Yep.
than the opponents. It isn't about having a quarterback bench pressing 500 pounds and Dallas Goddard pushing him. No, no, no. It starts in the trenches, and that means that you need to get your defensive lineman to get their big butts lower, and then the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles, and that will stop the tush push. Very
What is
simple.
better though, real quick? A 4-3 or a 3-4? Because you gotta, if you're gonna get lower,
Hmm.
you play the
Hmm.
ball. You're gonna get lower. You want those guys, you want your backers to hit that A gap and stow. But if it's up the middle, you want your nose tackle to get lower so everybody can kind of go above him and try to stop it. What's better, a 3-4 or a 4-3, in your opinion?
I would say this against the tush push. I would say a 4-3 would be better because a
Right,
3-4 you got one guy in there and he's holding up against a guard and a couple tackle, a guard and a couple guard and two guards in the center. Okay, there we go. And then you have linebackers trying to fire up in there. In the 4-3, you at least got two guys up front taking on some guys up front, and then you got a linebacker right there. But and all else, I would break out at 53. If they want to do that and do that at the goal line, I'd break out the 53 defense. Yes, five defensive linemen, three linebackers, and then just go three DBs, and I would
right.
run that right at it. Nobody's done it yet, which I'm kind of shocked by. Break out the 53. If they gonna run the tush push, you break out the 53. That'll eliminate
But
some of that because you got gaps covered in there.
right, but you need a Casey Hampton in the middle, a big, wide.
You you need a solid guy. You need a big guy. But the thing is, when you have three guys that are within the tackle box, that makes things a little easier because you can't have you know a bunch of people double teaming on this guy, this person on this guy, whatever. There's more matchups that people have to deal with, and that makes it harder for you to just fire up and push somebody.
Yeah, I agree, but I agree with you about with a 4-3 because you need
Hmm.
four big boys, that jumbo stuff to kind of, and like you said, a 53 will work too, and
Hmm.
you can even creep the DBs up just in case they want to run a fake, and the DBs will be right there to kind of make sure they don't call an audible or anything like that. But
Hmm.
I agree with you. Um, Final question: at the time of these broadcasts, Minnesota will be taking on OKC at
Hmm.
OKC, and then of course the day after it'll be Indiana at
Hey, quick
Boston.
question, quick thing for you. How wrong is it that the game seven happened on Sunday and the Western Conference teams are playing on Tuesday? They should be playing Wednesday. Eastern Conference should be playing tonight.
I knew they were going to do that, though. I knew because the
Yeah.
NBA doesn't want to wait too many days to get back to
Hmm.
playing, so they stuck Minnesota and OKC in the Tuesday. But you're right; they just played. They should have flip flopped it or started the Knicks on Thursday and started, the T
Hmm.
Wolves and OKC on Wednesday or something like that. But I guess they didn't want to give a lot of a gap because they want to keep playing. Um, but final question with you: who wins game one in both series? And if it's the road team, does that change any of your mind about who you think is going to get to the finals?
Well, I'm definitely going to pick the Pacers to win game one. I'm definitely going to pick the Oklahoma City Thunder to win game one in the Western Conference. So, I'm staying on my picks, my predictions. I definitely, before the season started, said that the Pacers would be back this year. People laughed at me and thought I was crazy, but, I kind of know a little bit of what I'm talking about. And I saw this team and not losing very many pieces. And that's why I said they would be back where they are. And what happened? They're back where they are.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have to play that tape for me so I can verify that you actually said no. I'm kidding. I know you. I know
I
you.
honestly can't remember what show I said it on, but I do remember I said
Well,
it.
I only have one right out of the four. I had OKC in the finals. I mean OKC in the Western Conference Finals. I had
Mhm.
Boston and Cleveland in the finals in the East. I had OKC and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. So I only have one.
I, I would
Uh,
say this one thing with Boston. My dad taught me this lesson when I was a kid. You live by the jumper, you die by the jumper. And sure enough, Boston
That's all
dies by
coach.
that
That's
jumper.
coaching. That's fundamental basketball, Mike. You play the
Mhm.
game. If you're not making a perimeter shot, what do? You go
Get to the
to the
basket.
basket
Hmm.
and get the foul. You get the rhythm. You're shooting the free throw. I mean, it's basic basketball. And these guys, that's the one thing. I'm not one of those when they played type guys. But a lot of guys with these young guys, they like to shoot from the outside and they'll keep shooting their way out of the game. You need to get to
Right.
the goal, and they're not doing that, and I don't understand that. But I'm with you. I think I had OKC. I'm kind of torn though. Minnesota scares me. I think
Hmm.
Minnesota can win this series, and certainly I'm hoping the Pacers because I can't. As a Sixer fan, I can't live with the Knicks getting back to glory or the Celtics or anything. So I would rather it be Indiana than anything else. So we'll see what
Hmm.
happens. Mike, before
You
we go,
you
we
sure
didn't talk
you
about
sure
Tor.
you sure you're ready with the multiple voices of Halliburton? You ready for the multiple voices of him? Because he has
Well,
like different voices, right? Him versus is the most important thing to watch in this series. It's funny ones to watch in this series. Is going to be how many voices does Karl Anthony Town use, and how many voices does Tyrese Halliburton use? Both of them use multiple voices when they talk. Just pay attention, watch what they talk. They talk in totally different voices a lot.
and Towns has a different. Where's he from? The Bahamas? Where's he from originally?
I think he's Puerto Rican, but
No, I think he's Dominican in one of those. I mean,
Dominican. I'm sorry, he's
New
Dominican. He's
York,
right.
yeah.
You're right. He's Dominican. He's
And you
Dominican.
can hear his. I mean,
Mhm.
he's a real, as big as he is, he's soft spoken, which is really weird. When he starts talking, it's weird. But
Mhm.
Halliburton, oh, I know. The other thing is, should his father be able to come to the games again? I know he apologized on social media, and
Mhm.
Halliburton said, "No, my dad was wrong. I apologize," and all that. Should his father be able to come to the arenas to see the game?
Mhm. No, I would say nah. Nah, Tyrese Halliburton dad got to stay home because he too much of a wild card, man. He too much of a wild card.
Well, it didn't seem to mess up his focus because he continued to play well. So
Mhm.
we'll see what happens. Mike, like I said, we didn't get a chance to talk about touring the AFC South. Talk about what you got going on and other your other projects.
Well, this week I've got the one and only Warren Moon coming on with me on Thursday.
Oh
We're
man,
going to talk a little Cam Ward, a little maybe Trevor Lawrence, maybe a little bit Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, maybe CJ Stroud as well. But we're going to talk a little bit of quarterback play in the AFC South this Thursday. I may or may not be recording tonight, have a few things going on, so might not get to record tonight, but definitely going to be recording on Thursday with Mr. Warren Moon. Wow, one of the greatest black quarterbacks of all time. The
right,
greatest, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time,
right.
but definitely in the era of black quarterbacks for sure.
Hopefully, Cam Ward will reach out to him too.
Well,
Being
actually,
that he's connected with that.
Cam Ward actually connected with him to get the number one. So that's how that happened. He actually reached out and um, called Warren Moon about it. And he was actually Warren Moon was a surprise guest at his first press conference, and basically kind of ceremoniously gave over the number one, even though Warren says no one will ever really wear the Houston number one, but he can wear the number one, and that was fine, and whatever. So
Yeah, and I mean, you can't go wrong to pick the brain of a Warren Moon. You can't
Warren
go.
said he would be there to help him whenever he needed anything. He would always be able to pick up the phone for
Yeah, like you said, one of the greatest black, but one of the greatest quarterbacks that got cheated, had to go to Canada
him. And
and win the Grey Cup, several Grey Cups there, but certainly had a Hall of Fame NFL career as well. So
indeed.
Cam Ward will be um, remiss if he doesn't continue them growing pains, because you first pick in the draft, they want you on the field. So you definitely want to
Hmm.
pick a guy like Warren Moon's brain to find out how to be successful, how to be professional as a
Hmm.
quarterback. Mike, as always, my friend, I appreciate your time, my bro. We will talk with you soon. Stay out of trouble, and we'll talk next week, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
And send me that Warren Moon. If it's not live, send me the link so I can post that.
Okay.
All
Gotcha.
right. Thanks, Mike.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mike Patton touring the AFC South, covering the NFL, NBA, and WNBA and beyond. Once again, if you can subscribe to our YouTube page at Pat Nation One, Pat Nation One at Facebook, LA Batchelor, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Make sure you hit us up. We're on Google. You can find us there. Podbean. We're all over the place. If you have a podcast, you're looking for a podcast, you're looking to download a podcast, you can do that. Do sign up to be a partner with us. Until next time, we will talk to you very soon.